Hello and welcome to GlitchCube, we're a gaming podcast, and each week we take a deeper look into the art of video games. As always, I'm Christian.
And I'm Chris.
And welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us once again as we dive further into the world of games. So today we got some updates for you guys. We're going to be talking about some new games, some old games, all the stuff in between, right? Just kind of seeing where we're at, chatting about some good old stuff, and as part of the new games, a little bit of a little teaser here, but I'm going to bring up some Beast of Reincarnation. You know, a lot of people are kind of hating on this game right now. New game by Game Freak, a big departure from what they're usually known for. I mean, whenever you think Game Freak, you think Pokemon, right? Like, that's kind of the natural thing that everyone dives to, but this is a pretty big departure from their cutesy animal collecting, right, monster fighting games that we've known and grown up with. But yeah, it's interesting, and the reviews are very. I got a lot to say about that. But before we dive into some of the bigger hitting things like that, you know, like the maybe a little bit more controversial talks like this, what you playing? What's on your radar right now, or this week, or what you got?
So I've been kind of in the middle of a bunch of games, but I will start off with a smaller one that I started playing yesterday, actually, that I'm enjoying, ReStory.
Oh, okay.
And for people that don't know, it's basically you run this little shop and you clean and repair and resell electronics, basically.
Yeah. I saw that on the Steam page, and I was like, "This is Chris's game." I was like, "This is his game."
Yeah, it totally is. At first, I was kind of like, I don't know about this because this is already what I like to do, like in person. And then I was playing, and I was like, you know, this is actually kind of nice because it's like, oh, I'm actually taking things apart, and it's easy to put back together. I'm digging it, and it's cool. You know, the little systems are there where there's a lot of things to upgrade, right? You can get better brushes to dust things off faster. You get better shelf space. You know, you can buy stuff on the marketplace and then try to resell it, or you fix other people's stuff. And, you know, there's a slight story there, right? You kind of take over this stall that the previous owner like mysteriously disappeared and stuff. So there's something there, but honestly, this is just a good game to just be like, I'm going to take this, you know, Tamagotchi apart and clean it on the insides and then put it back together. And it's easy put back together because they, when you do it, they have a little list where it's like, this is the order that you took it all apart. And, you know, the screws go in its own little tray. It's not like you have to grab them and move them. And then if you have parts that are broken, you can just trash them, but you have another little box that you can store spare parts in. So if you have a controller that has like a broken circuit board, you can put that controller in this box temporarily until you maybe get another one with a working circuit board, and you can just, you know, fix it over to that one.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty intuitive, and it honestly feels pretty realistic. Like, I haven't torn down really anything that I've torn down like in person yet, but as someone who has done this many times, I'm like, oh, they're actually doing a pretty good job with kind of showing you how this works and what it looks like underneath, you know, controllers and stuff like that. So I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to talk more about it, you know, maybe next week when I finish it, but early impressions, you know, 3 hours into it, I'm digging it a lot. It's enjoyable.
That's awesome. That one looks so cool. I do like that. I'm thinking, like, I'm wondering if this is going to ignite like new hobbyists, right? People who are interested in actually trying this out. Like, I love games that do this, where it takes like a niche hobby that some people might be a little timid about trying, or they just don't have the money to like buy a bunch of, you know, spare parts or spare consoles, and just shows them like, oh, this is actually really fun. And I didn't know that it's like a new hobby unlocked, right? It's like, oh, I am really interested in this. Like, let me go and let me find a Game Boy real quick and just tear it apart and see what makes it tick, right? Like, I love that kind of stuff. So I think that's so cool. And the fact that they were able to gamify it, and I'm very curious about this story, right? The shop owner mysteriously disappearing. Like, is there more to it? Like, are you unlocking tidbits of story along the way and like it becomes like a crazy detective story thing kind of going on, like a whodunit?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, where are they going to go with this? Because it's like, I'm at the point where I'm meeting these characters, and I'm like, okay, like they might play a part at some point because they're kind of connecting pieces here and there. But yeah, who knows? I'm not expecting like some kind of dark understory like Inscription or, games like that, but there's probably a little something.
Yeah, there's got to be like a little bit of like a thriller thing going on there. So, no, I'm excited to see what happens and see or hear what you have to say about it, because it's definitely like I almost picked it up too. I was like, oh, actually, the way it's presented is very well done. Like you said, I think like it definitely does give people a fairly clear image of what that might look like if it's something that you really do want to get into.
I would say so. But yeah, I recommend that. Other stuff I've been kind of playing. Still working through Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Really enjoying that. But I'll save that for once I actually finish it, which who knows how long that'll be. But
that game's other ones, I did really enjoy my time with that one though. It's a great game.
Yeah. I went back to Fields of Mistria because I know it just got the 1.0 release recently, and on the 5th, and it's cool. They added a lot of stuff for the people that don't know. Think of Stardew Valley, but 2026, right? So it's a little more to it than just farming and mining and stuff like that. You're kind of fixing up this town a little bit. There's little things that, you're kind of doing like story progression stuff where it's like, oh, you need to maybe donate stuff to rebuild this shed in the town. And you do that, and that opens up, a new shop. And there's a bunch of other stuff kind of like that. The game has a lot of content, and it's like enjoyable content. I had my eye on this game for a very long time, but never picked it up. And then my wife picked it up months ago when it was still early access, and she played a lot of it. I played quite a bit of it, and I was like, I think I want to wait till the 1.0. And I'm kind of glad I did, because I'm playing just little bits, but it just has added stuff to it that feels complete. Because yes, you could do the town repair, I think, almost all the way to completion, but there was still kind of like story stuff and events that weren't fully finished. But now they are. And I give this game a very high recommendation for people that want like a cozy farming kind of game, because I think this game evolves past Stardew Valley just enough where it doesn't feel like all those kind of knockoffs that we've been seeing over the years, where there's maybe like one new gimmick, but at the end of the day, there's nothing special to it. This game, I feel like, even though it's nothing like, it's not reinventing the wheel, it feels like someone took what they loved about Stardew and was like, okay, let me add a few things in here that just make sense. And they do. And yeah, I don't know. This might be my favorite, like, Stardew-like, I guess, nowadays. As a big Harvest Moon fan back, as a child, and all of that, this game has my stamp of approval.
I feel like it's about time that we get something new, right? Like, there's certain games that I feel like just don't go away. And I don't mean like go away like in a bad way. It just feels like it, Stardew's been a name for a while now. Like, when did Stardew originally come out? I can't think of the exact date, but it's been years.
Let's see. I actually have it right here. 2016. Damn.
So it's been 10 years.
10 years.
And people are still actively playing this, right? And it's not just like the people who started playing it a while ago. Like, people are still picking it up as like a brand new game or trying it out for the first time. Like, that's impressive, right? Like, that's pretty crazy to think about. that it still is
Yeah.
that relevant. And, you know, but like there's only a few games that I feel like kind of hold that weight. You know, you got like your Minecrafts, of course, right? I mean, unfortunately,
Mhm.
like Fortnite, whatever, but the so you got like those ones. And then like Slay the Spire, right? Like how long did it take for Slay the Spire to change? And even the sequel is still like just more of the same thing, just better. You know? So like I feel like we're kind of like due for a new generation of like staple games. I feel like even like Cave Story was one of those that like stuck around forever.
Oh yeah. I mean, that game was a landmark game. In my opinion, Cave Story is a landmark game,
Mhm.
right? It kind of paved the way for indies, really, because it's, very old. But when you play it, it does not feel old at all. It feels like something that would come out today.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think this, to me, of course, Stardew is always an easy recommendation. But I think if anyone has played that but wants something new, this game's got it. It's got everything you could really need, which is
Nice.
cool.
Hell yeah.
But last thing from what I've been playing, and this is the big one, but I finished the new Halo, right? Or Halo Campaign Evolved,
Mm-hmm.
which is, for people that don't know, it's basically a remake of the old first Halo without multiplayer. You can still do co-op, which is how I played the game, but that's about it. And they added 3 new prelude missions, which I have not done. I was about to do those, but I'll do that this week. I played through the main story, got all the skulls and the terminals, and I have thoughts about this game.
Okay, so
So,
I'm very curious because this is another one of those games that is new, but I mean, like it's Halo, right? But it's also getting incredibly mixed reviews, right? So
so
I'm
these
curious.
reviews I understand. I was kind of at first thinking like, oh man, people being kind of harsh on this because it did look pretty,
Mm-hmm.
but a little backstory real quick. Halo 1 for me, I was a PlayStation 2 guy, so I didn't get an Xbox, but I didn't really get into Halo until 2, where I played at a friend's house, and I didn't actually own a Halo until 3. So Halo 1 for me kind of just went over my head as a kid. I love the vibe that was surrounding it, but I don't have that crazy nostalgia for the first game because I didn't play the first game until the anniversary edition on the 360, which
Mm-hmm.
was in my opinion, great version. And then a few years ago, I replayed it in the Master Chief Collection with a friend. And then with that same friend, we played this version. And this game is very pretty, right? Unreal 5, which you can very much tell it is because it has that funky lighting with the funky, shiny metal.
Everything is
And
so
that's,
shiny in Unreal. I don't know why. Like it's cool.
and
I like the reflective surfaces, but like everything is so shiny.
this game should just be called Shiny Evolved. Like, it's just
Mirror Force
all these
Space
buildings
Squad.
are just,
Yeah.
well, like you see these big shiny buildings, and I'm sitting here like, man, don't these buildings have like a patina to them? Don't they have some kind of like withering to them? Like they look like they're brand new built. They're so shiny.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking back at how the old structures looked in Halo. And obviously, that was 20 years ago, right? All these buildings look like brutalist dreams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Concrete buildings. And now you're looking at it and you're like, oh, there's like these shiny metal things, which, to me, I'm going to take the old one because they were just kind of majestic in a
Right.
way. Whereas these, I don't know. I hate to always go back to this, even though this predates it, but it just reminds me of that Destiny kind of look with sci-fi
Mm.
where it has these like weird kind of structures that I know it was in sci-fi before it, but to me, I always looked at Destiny as kind of pushing that sci-fi aesthetic to the masses. So the visuals in this game were just kind of interesting because, you know, there's that the silent cartographer, right? It's big famous one where you're on the beach. Water looks amazing, right? Looks great. You go later in the missions, there's an area where you're like in like a cave or whatever, and there's water, and you're walking through it, and it looks like nothing. It just looks so plain, like it does not look real, and it was a little like it threw me off. Right, this game looks great in some ways, but in other ways, there's just it doesn't detract from the other stuff. And something that I wasn't thinking about throughout the game, but my buddy brought it up, was music. I feel like in the original Halo, music got going whenever there was something crazy happening, or even, you know, leading up to it.
Oh, that's like the most memorable part of Halo. I think like everybody who played Halo is like that when that music hits, you know what's going on, right? Like shit's about to hit the fan. Like you feel like a badass because of it, right? Like that the original soundtrack played a huge part in Halo, I think, especially the campaign.
And I feel like this game, there were many times it was silent.
Oh,
and I was like, what's going on? Like, all I hear is the gunfire. And like there were times where the music would pick up eventually, you know, but there were many times there was no sound, no music. And I had to triple check that I had music like active and turned up.
Really?
And it just really wasn't there. And I was like, man, that's kind of a bummer. Like, certain scenes where you'd think the music would be blasting wasn't there. And, you know, there were some important scenes that did have the music. So it did have that special feeling, but it wasn't special like the original. The music just felt kind of off place. You know, there were certain changes to the way some character, like there was a humor to some of these characters that just felt really out of place. I mean, I get it, right? Because I feel like they're probably looking at like most people playing this is kind of, they've already played these games.
Right.
But for people that are totally new to this, it's going to have this kind of maybe different feeling. But I don't know. To me, there was just something that felt different about this. Like, it did not feel good in a way. And I've always kind of felt the first Halo was basically, but with the first game, to me, I always felt like the story was okay, but it had beats to it that made it fascinating and wanted me to keep going. In this version, it just felt like, you know, one of the big moments in that game just felt, I don't know, lackluster. Like, it didn't have that same emotional impact.
So is the audio, because I haven't listened to the soundtrack yet, is the soundtrack completely remastered too? Or is it just that they didn't put audio in where they did before in the past?
I think that's what it is. You know, and I know they did some changes to some stages and areas and stuff, but I'm just like, I don't know. There were times there was no sound, and I'm like, this is, you know, in a game normally that doesn't bother me, but it's Halo, right? And I feel like Halo had a great soundtrack before, and it's just gone. And I don't know. There were so many things about this game that I think they just did wrong, and it's a bummer, you know, because they could have made this, one, awesome, or two, you know, when you think about like them putting this on the PlayStation 5, right? Halo for the first time.
Yeah,
they didn't need to do this.
Splash, right? Like, if it's going to be on the PS5. That's easy.
Yeah. They should have just put the Master Chief Collection on it instead, because then you get all the Halos for the most part. And, you know, by now, that collection is old enough where, you know, they're going to stamp out all the bugs and problems. And that would have been a much better deal, you know, instead of spending however much money they spent on making a remake of Halo, right? Who knows if they're going to make a Halo 2 at this point because of how this game did. And it's a shame, because I would love the Master Chief Collection to be on a PS5 just so more people could experience the classics, right?
Yeah, especially the people who never got a chance to in the first place. Like, that would be cool.
Yeah, and I never thought that existed, but I've met many people who were like, yeah, I've just never had an Xbox, never played any of it. I've only had a PlayStation. I'm like, oh crap. Like, damn, makes me wish like all those older exclusives could just be available on other consoles, right? Because I know on PC you can play them, but yeah, crazy.
I think this is so interesting because I feel like games nowadays, they're running into, there's a major complaint that I hear a lot, right? It's either the game is too quiet, right? Music is not relevant or whatever. It just doesn't feel like with Halo, right? Like it's not matching what it should be, you know? Or the music is way too repetitive and it won't stop, you know? Like when it comes to like battle stuff. So like there's no like nice middle ground for this stuff. Like people are upset regardless of what they do. They could either drop the music completely or add too much, and people are like, okay, like I'm tired of hearing the same battle theme just remixed depending on the region, or like people are just always constantly looking for something to complain about, which I think is kind of a shame, right? Instead of just experiencing it. But I mean, whenever you're doing a Halo, like we have something to compare it to. And it's not like the franchise hasn't been coming out with new ones recently. So it's not like it's a dead franchise, right? Like this is Microsoft's franchise.
Yep.
So I think people can be a little bit more critical of it. And with how much love the soundtrack got from the original ones, I mean, they still do like the symphony orchestra shows of Halo music, right? Like, why not do something like that for the remaster? Like, how epic would that be if it was like a full string orchestra of it? Like, that would tie in the nostalgia aspect of it, right, from the people playing in the past. But have the audio, like have the music that people grew up loving, like, and the people who didn't play it, like experience it like for the first time, right? Like, I don't know, it's a weird one, that's for sure. But people just like to complain. There's something out there for everything. And actually, speaking of complaining, I do want to talk about Beast of Reincarnation. So a lot of people are being kind of negative on this game, right? And I feel like it's falling into this dreaded zone, which I find very interesting. So I feel like a lot more games nowadays are getting reviewed with, like the 0 out of 10 rating. Like they're getting stuck at like this 7.5 range. And like nowadays, I'm starting to think like 7.5 is a great game. Because I feel like a lot of games that I run into that are around that range, it's actually really good or really entertaining, in my opinion, right? Like it, and a lot of times whenever a game is like this perfect 10 out of 10, it's either some like huge AAA title that everyone is getting like copies, stupid, right? Like there's a huge marketing ploy behind it that gets it to the 10 out of 10. But like these other games that are kind of like either breaking the mold or trying something new, they get stuck with this 7.5 out of 10, and people are just kind of not giving it the chance that it deserves, in my opinion. Right? So, like, Beast of Reincarnation, if people don't know, it's like this action RPG game where desolate wasteland. It's like, yes, some of the gimmicks and the aspects of the story are not completely original, but then again, what is original nowadays? Right? Like, it's a video game. Like, of course, it's going to have video game aspects to it. Like, one of the biggest complaints I see is that, like, oh, the levels, like, like, the boss patterns kind of feel the same, where you go, you encounter the boss, you fight them, and then they, like, go deeper into the layer, but then they might be like a little bit different. They might be a little faster, right? But like people are saying there's not much of a variant between each chapter because of that. And I would go ahead and say, why do people love Monster Hunter? Because it's the same exact fucking thing, right? Like in my opinion, right? Like it's just one of those like, okay, let's move on from that. Like, and remember, it is a video game. Now, another thing that people are really griping on is the story and the main character. Main character Emma, she has like I read a review that was saying like, oh gosh, another like protagonist with amnesia. And as soon as I read that review, I was like, well, did you actually play the game? Because no one ever said she has amnesia. It's just that, like, she is this vessel, and that's blight touched, which means that, like, she's not considered human by other people. So, like, she's always shunned, so she is lacking emotion because she's been pushed out to the outskirts and people are taught to not interact with her because she's blight touched, right? Like, there's a lot of little weird nuanced things there. And I will say, like, the story at first, it doesn't, like, it gives you just enough to get going, where it, like, kind of explains the giant monsters. It explains the journey that you need to go on to fight the Beast of Reincarnation. It explains that, like, oh, all of the big bads that you're facing along the way are, like, it makes you stronger because your ability is to absorb these blight touched, what they're called, nushi, right? Like, that's what the big monsters are called, right? So as you're doing that, you're getting new abilities because you need to become strong enough to stop the Beast of Reincarnation. Like, that's the ultimate goal at the end. Very video gamey, but, like, it's a video game, right? Like, I don't see what the big problem is with that, honestly.
Yeah.
But the combat is a lot of fun, and I do like the aspect. But, like, what I thought was pretty cool is, like, as you progress through some of the chapters, it starts giving you little tidbits of information about, like, the story, about the world that you're in. And, like, for a little bit of spoiler, nothing too crazy, because, like, I feel like if you know this earlier, it makes it more interesting. But there are, like, humans around, but there's a lot of what are called golems, right? There's these, like, mechanical constructs that are walking around. And the mechanical constructs are actually people from the past before the last calamity. They knew so basically think about, like, us right now, right? Let's say that we knew that a calamity was coming for us. Humanity was going to be destroyed, or potentially destroyed, or there wouldn't be, like, most of humanity would be gone. So what they did is they put their consciousness or their memories into these mechanical creatures, or golems, which mimic humans, right? So all of these golems have human memories in them to help preserve and pass down the memories of humanity to the next generations. Which I was like, that's cool. That's really interesting. And, like, the calamity created this blight, which is kind of like a mutated monster version of things. It looks like nature is kind of taken over. So everything has, like, this naturey, very, like, vine-like feel to it. Where even Emma, the main character, her ponytail is just like vines, which you can use to, like, traverse, like, kind of like grappling hook style. It's actually really fun. Like, the movement feels great in this. But as you get more and more abilities, which I thought was a really beautiful way of doing it to show off, like, oh, you are getting new abilities, she gets flowers in her hair. And each flower represents a different boss that you beat. And each flower has different abilities that are attached to them, which I thought was really cool. And then you have you have your companion, Ku, who's a white wolf, who is, I think it's called the Malicent. And you fight alongside Ku, you control them a little bit. Like, you can tell them to, like, if you're sneaking up on something, you can tell Ku to go and try and, like, assassinate enemies in secret or things like that, right? It's pretty fun, actually. But as, like, you have a special bond with Ku, and as you level up and get the new flowers, Ku gets the new flowers on their back and tail as well, right? So, like, they have the vines on their back and tail. And it's just, like, a really nice way of showing it. I find it really aesthetically pleasing. And I know a lot of people are saying, like, oh, like, as you're traversing through the world and you find all these little, like, trinkets, like, you're not being rewarded enough. But I would disagree. Like, you're getting new weapons. They have different styles. Like, the new swords in the beginning are they feel simple, but then I just recently got this new sword last night that was really cool. I didn't use it for a while because the attack power was kind of low. Like, comparing wise, like, the last sword I had was, like, 47 damage, and this sword started out at, like, 25, right? I was like, oh, that's a big loss, you know? But I decided to use it, and it's, like, this crazy flame sword. The sword's on fire constantly, and as you're swinging it, it sends out, like, little fire blades out to, like, it's really cool looking. and it boosts your slash damage, and it creates burn, which is like tick damage, so it kind of compensates for the fact that its base attack power is much weaker than the other swords you have. So like there's all kinds of little things like that, and I think honestly, like, yes, the story isn't super original, but like it's original enough, and I feel like for most people, the slow burn of the story is difficult, but I like a slow burn, especially when it comes to like cinema and movies. Like, I like that build up. I like because I feel like the end surprise is that much more like rewarding or impactful. So like, I don't know. I feel like I'm actually really enjoying this game, despite what some people are trying to say out there, because it is interesting. I find it like as a new, interesting experience. And, you know, for everyone that's comparing it to like Nier, Sekiro, and all that, just because a game has a parry window doesn't mean it's a Souls-like or a Sekiro game, right? Like, come on. Like, why do we have to automatically compare these games? Why can't we just go in with, okay, this is how Beast of Reincarnation handles parrying? It doesn't mean that it's a clone of another game, right? Because then if you start thinking like, oh, this is just like Sekiro or Nier, right? Like, you're going to look at every single mechanic that way. It's like, oh, well, they did it differently in Sekiro. It's like, well, yeah, because that's a different game, right? So, I don't know. I feel like the reviews are doing this game negatively, because I do find it kind of enjoyable right now. Like, I like the characters, and like as you're progressing, Emma is becoming more and more like human. She's asking what is the purpose of feelings? Like, why do I have these? And she's becoming more human by being around humans, which she was shunned her whole life, right? Like, I don't know.
I think it's a game that maybe 10 years from now, people are going to look back and maybe think differently of.
Oh, definitely.
You know, maybe 5 years. I know when I first saw the trailer for this, I was interested in it, but I also get a little, I don't know, picky about games that are kind of like Nier. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is kind of like Nier. And as someone who just played Stellar Blade recently, you know, I got my fix for that kind of game. But this one just felt interesting because it just felt more desolate. And I know, like, people get weird about Game Freak. People seem to also forget that Game Freak does have made other games in the past.
Right.
That were not Pokemon, right? Like Pocket Card Jockey was awesome. I remember Little Town Hero didn't do too well, but it always looked kind of interesting. Like, a lot of the side games they make always kind of fare with like medium scores, right? They're never like blockbusters. So when they were coming out with this, I was kind of thinking like, okay, like, you know, we're going to see them try again. Because, you know, when you look at their past, they did a lot of platformers.
Right.
So they have their specialty, and, you know, I'm happy they were able to try something different. You know, that's awesome. But I'm glad I heard the way you spoke about it, because, yeah, everyone is just like really down on it. And I know that the internet loves to find a game that everyone can agree on, with it either being good or bad, and then just beating that horse until it's down.
I feel like this is the Avowed for this year. Like, I really do. I think that if people really give it a shot, they're going to enjoy it, but no one is giving it the shot.
Yeah, it's a bummer, because, I mean, I think the game looks kind of cool. You know, I do like those kind of games where you're, you know, alone in a world. But I think also we're at a point now where there's just so much choice, so many options for games, that it's like, it's easy to give a game a low score when you're a few hours into a game, because you're like, well, you know, if someone hasn't played, you know, Sekiro or Nier, then they should play that instead. And then they kind of dismiss this game.
Right.
Or, you know, you have some people that do give a fair shot to it and are like, you know what, it's not bad. Like, the only other person I heard say something decent about it, was basically saying like, it is the 7 out of 10 game or 6 out of 10 game.
Mhm.
And I agree with you. A lot of times I take chances on the 7 out of 10 games. I mean, Crimson Desert was kind of scored around that too for many places.
Right.
And Crimson Desert, it has its faults, right? The story is, you have to try to really get into that story, but the world was amazing.
Mhm.
It was so much fun exploring, and I'm glad I spent my time with that game despite the low scores. And there's many games over the years, decades. I go back to old magazines to see how things reviewed, and it's like a lot of good games are around that 7 score because, and a lot of times I think more in the old days, right? A lot of people gave a 7 out of 10 for a game because that probably meant that they really liked it, but they don't think a lot of other people will like it. So they're like trying to be fair instead of giving every game a 10. But yeah, I guess I'm just kind of surprised. I also think like the combat system in this game is just done so much that it's very easy to compare and dismiss. Because I think Neo 3 came out this year too, right? And that's basically the same kind of play style.
Yeah, it's very similar.
So, I mean, I did come out in February. So it's like these games are in abundance, but I don't know. This one just has kind of a nice style to it. Like, I do want to, one day check it out and see what it's all about. Because, I don't know. I like taking chances on games like this.
Well, and it's on Game Pass. So I don't see why people aren't like, if you have Game Pass, enjoy it, right? Like, it's really fun. And one thing I've said a couple times outside of the podcast too is just that like most of the reviews that I've heard, I can't really like take them seriously because when I'm playing it on Game Pass, right, I have my achievements on, and like I beat the first boss, and I got like a platinum award that's saying like, oh, less than 7% of people have accomplished this. And I'm like, okay, well, if you haven't even gone past chapter 1, like, what are you talking about? Like chapter 1 is setting the stage, and then the story kicks off, right? Like, it's just, I don't know. I find that so weird because, like, one big thing that I really appreciate talking about, like, beautiful worlds like Crimson Desert is the fact that, like, this desolate wasteland is gorgeous because, like vegetation has taken over, right? Like, everything is covered in plants, trees, and vines and all that stuff. But then it's mixed with, like, Buddhist style statues and all this that are reminiscent. They look like the golems because like the golems are what hold the history of the past. Like, there's all kinds of really interesting nods in the scenery itself that are fun to look at as you're like jumping around. And there's like a million different ways to like approach the like different groups of enemies too. Like, you could just run up on them, or like a lot of times there's a way to get above them and then try and like sneak attack them. Like, I like that kind of stuff. So I don't know.
I think something too, and this is something you have to remember with action games, is like people like variety. If a game doesn't have a big variety of enemies, bosses, and combat variations or rotations, it's like it live or die. Right? So many action games, when you look at Dark Souls, if you look at it face value, they always are going to play the same. But the bosses having such different attack patterns, the variety of enemies that'll have different attack patterns it keeps it interesting and fascinating. But if you have a game where there's only like, 6 different enemies and they all kind of have the same pattern, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that Game Freak, from the many games I've played of theirs, they have never really been that good at the depth in games. And when I've looked at this game a little bit, I feel like it is kind of maybe lacking in that from an outside view. But it's just, I don't know why. I feel like, all these decades they've been making games, you think that they would try to focus on that. Because I know Little Town Hero, like it has like an interesting start, but as soon as there are more systems thrown in, that's where it just tanked. And kind of Pokemon of many recent years have all been like that, where the games will start off interesting, but as soon as they add mechanics that seem interesting or new, they just don't handle it well. And I'm wondering like if that's really like what's going on in this game too.
I could see that. That makes sense. Because it is kind of like, it definitely doesn't hold your hand whenever it comes to new mechanics being introduced. And there are certain aspects, because I can tell like with some action games, there are certain abilities and like attack patterns that you would want as a player, but you have to unlock them as a skill, right? So like I could see people getting frustrated by that. Like even like a dodge roll, like there's a dodge, but like rolling, it costs quite a bit of skill points to get to. I'm not gonna lie. It took me a while to actually get a dodge roll. It's like, oh dang, like I didn't realize it. I think like 10 hours in, I finally unlocked it because I was unlocking other things around it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need a dodge roll. Like that would probably be really helpful, right? Like so, there are some like simple things like that I think would have been like if they just gave that to you from the beginning, that would have been nice. So you don't feel like you're spending a bunch of skill points on something that should be basic. So yeah. Like, there are some negatives to it, but overall, I definitely am enjoying it. Like, sure, yeah, it's not the perfect game, but I'm liking it. I like the story. And Koo's adorable. I mean, yeah. Koo's great. I love it. Wonderful companion there. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little conversation here as we dive further into the world of games and all that good stuff. But we'll talk to you guys next week with some more games that we've been playing throughout our weeks. But until then, bye for now.